All right. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Inside Edge, episode 15. As always, I am Gehrig Schilling, joined by Coach Joe Clark. How we doing, Coach?
I'm doing awesome this morning, Gary. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm riding a big high coming off our Connor Hellebuck episode. That was a lot of fun. Let's get right into it, though. I wanted to mention a guy who's been on an absolute tear. He is 23 years old. That is my youngest brother's age. I still will never get over seeing stuff like that. But he has, like I said, been on an absolute tear. He has four shutouts in his past six starts. Most recently, a 33 save bid and a 1-0 win against Edmonton. Wallstedt was named Rookie of the Month last year, where he went 6-0 with a 1.14 goals against average and a 9.67 save percentage. Three shutouts in that 6-0 stretch. One number I really wanted to highlight, though, is the high danger save percentages. It's a graphic here. I'll put it in the podcast that he is at a .972, which is the highest in the league right now currently for high danger save percentage chances. The next couple guys, the NHL average is 2.7. So he's
Yeah.
just about as perfect as you could be in that stretch. And a guy who had an up and down bout through Iowa in the AHL the last couple of years, especially last year. He struggled and talked about it a little bit that coming up and down has weighed on him a lot throughout the last couple of years. But I mean, he's just at all-time supreme confidence right now in that flow state we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast and with Helly a little bit last week. Like just a guy in the absolute zone. It's been a pleasure to watch. So I wanted to give him a little shout.
Yep. Longevity will tell the story. And when you watch Wallstedt play now, he's 23, just turned 23, right? Yeah, he has a November birthday, so he's really young. And that was about Helly's age when he came in. Helly was 22 when he was given the reins, but he struggled, times early in his career. It kind of reminds me of Jakob Dobis a little bit. Dobie got off to a 6-0 start, and numbers were like 940 something, 950 something save percentage. And people ask, what are your thoughts? And I said, he's making it look easy. Wallstedt is making it look easy. Wallstedt has a little better team around him, I think. But time will tell because, the mental part of the game will wear on you a little bit if you let it. And so it's great. It's awesome that Wallstedt and Dobis are off to great starts this year. I think Dobie's only lost maybe 2 games. Was he 8-2, something like that? But he went through a stretch after going 6-0-1. He hit the tank pretty hard, and now he's come back. So the roller coaster part of it's kicked in. It will kick in for Wallstedt as well at some point. You're not going to continue to go on, but it's been fun to watch him. And like I said, Wallstedt makes the game look easy. Let's see over time. And that's not a negative thing. I'm just saying, there's an old saying, regarding pro goalies, if they get off to an unbelievable start and they're just all jacked up and they have their game together, give it time. Give it time.
That's just cautious optimism from a guy who's handled goalies forever. So that's just realistic right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to be humbled in life, be a goalie or play golf.
Yeah.
At some point, it'll come back, and I hope Wallstedt continues it. But at the rate he's going, it's kind of an impossibility. But I would love to see it. It'd be fun. It'd be a blast to see him continue. He's a great story. And where's he out of? Västerås, I think, in Sweden. And so, I mean, he didn't go to the American League and tear it up. He struggled at times there. So he's growing, but he has unbelievable potential, and good for him that he's got off to the start he has. I mean, good for the poor Minnesota fans. Not a lot to cheer about in the state of Minnesota these days, but at least their hockey team is
Yeah.
is doing well.
They
But
moved up into third in the Central with that little surge from Wallstedt, or from Wallstedt. They are also, since in typical hockey guy fashion, the only piece of this article that I read that was an actual quote from Wallstedt was him just giving flowers to his defensemen and teammates who have
yep,
made this stretch possible over it. So that's
yeah,
exactly where you want that guy to be.
oh, absolutely. He's doing and saying all the right things, but he's probably very, it's probably very accurate because sometimes a guy will rip one by you, but it hits the post and goes into the glass. It's a little element of luck, but he's making the game look really easy, and good for him. He's a great talent, and he's potentially a franchise goalie. But we'll see. Montembeault in Montreal last year had a great year, and it looked like he was the answer. And then this year he's awful, and so longevity will tell.
Yeah, that's I was gonna say, to your credit, coach, that's the thing about this league. It's nice. It's easy to say that stuff when you're 6-0-2 or six
Yep.
one and one, but yeah, let's try and
Yeah,
keep that same energy when you go on a slump for a little bit because it.
exactly. Let's see where he ends, and he may end up winning the Vezina and Rookie of the Year. Who knows?
Yep.
And God bless him if he does. Knowing the nature of the game and certainly the position, it's a tough road. It's a minefield. So the mental part will determine everything. But he's really young to have a strong mental game, and that will last over time. So that will grow over time. And just like it's done for Vasilevsky and Hellebuck and Logan Thompson is still, it's small samples so far, but he's having a great year as well. So those two are right now are probably the top two goalies if you're looking at Vezina votes right now. But time will tell. So we're not even at Christmas yet. We have a lot of hockey to play.
Absolutely. Moving on to more goalie news. Actually, a guy that's been talked about on this podcast before, Jordan Bennington, had a little disagreement with his coach, Jim
Yeah.
Montgomery, coming off the ice the other night. You wanna go ahead and take this one away, coach? I know this was your.
Yeah, you're dealing with a coach who is, I would say, in some ways, an elite coach in the National League, in Jim Montgomery, and I know him well. And his view on goalies is, it's fair. I think, he holds them accountable. Anyway, they had a game not long ago. It's a few days ago, and they got down 2-0. And St. Louis is near the bottom of the barrel, and they're expected to compete at a higher level this year, and they're trying to find their way. So if they don't get great goaltending, Monty's gonna make some changes. And he's the type of guy that he's not afraid to go against normal traditions when it comes to goaltending. He'll make a change with 3 minutes left in a
Yeah,
game.
you're telling the guy that he did the tandem goal in net for. He was my coach during the Allmark and Swayman days, so
Right.
that was as unorthodox as it comes.
Yeah, and then when he got to the playoffs, didn't work out
Don't
too
talk
well.
about that, coach. We're not
Yeah.
talking about that. We're talking about the
So
regular season.
so anyway, getting back to Bennington, he has a game the other night, and who's their opponent?
I believe it was the Ducks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Mason McTavish and Cam Fowler.
yeah, and they go up 2-0 on two kind of semi-questionable goals. If you're a goalie, understandable, but if you're not a goalie like Jim Montgomery and the head coach, you're looking at that, I go, that was horseshit. So he yanks him after 10 minutes in. And Bennington is an extremely animated individual to begin with, and not one of my favorite goalies to watch because of his antics. Great goalie, though, and a money goalie, I think, as we saw in the Four Nations last year. But Monty yanks him, and Bennington skates to the bench, and he didn't take his mask off, but he was chirping at Monty, and Monty was chirping right back at him. And then he went into the locker room, didn't stay on the bench. He came back to start the second period. So it was halfway through the first period, he gets yanked. He just leaves and goes to the locker room and sits there and feels shame, apparently. I don't know. But he comes back out. So the worst part about all of this is the media, because they've got fodder for days now. They've got material for days. And like I mentioned before, if the Blues had played the next night, the media moves on. But they kept it alive. And I'm watching press conference after press conference with Jim Montgomery answering questions over and over and over. And Bennington, same thing. Interviews in the room right after the game, interviews the next day, in press settings. And they've got to keep answering. It's like, oh my God, I wish this would just go away. It wasn't that big of a deal, but the media made it into a huge, huge mess. Oh, hey, Edmonton needs a goalie. Do we trade him to Edmonton? Or we being the fans. And Edmonton does really need gold. But, Bennington is, he's a competitor. And he and Monty are both high-end competitors, right? So it's sports. That happens sometimes. But end of the day, your job is to stop pucks. And he didn't, and Monty didn't feel right about the way he was playing. And he didn't want to get into too big of a hole. So he yanked it. No big deal. Not the first time that's ever happened.
And credit to Jim Montgomery. He's a player's coach in my mind. At least that's what he was addressed as when he was the coach in Boston. And I'm just reading this quote. This is exactly how you have to handle this with a guy like Hellebuck. This is from Jim Montgomery. He's a competitor. He raises his game in the big moments. I love him. He walked off the ice. He said, I love you. I said, I love you too. We're both competitors by nature. And at the end of the period, he waited for me. We apologized and we moved on. It's over and done with.
Yeah,
I mean, that's as far as it needs to go.
That was brilliant. by Jim to say that, "I love you," and he said, "You love me." Well, obviously that didn't happen, but he
Tongue in
said all the
cheek.
right things, and that should have put the fire out right there. But again, it goes back to the media. The media wants to keep it alive as something to write about, something to talk about, and questions to ask.
This will die much quicker with that though than a John Tortorella quote, right?
Oh boy, yeah, Tortorella would keep it alive himself. He didn't need the media,
He'd sit
but
him for the next game to
but
put
I
a teach
guarantee
him a
you,
lesson.
yeah, exactly. But I guarantee you, Monty and Bennington wish this would just go away. And the best thing that could have happened is if they played right away. And I think they do play tonight, and I bet you Bennington is right in there.
I would imagine so as well. Again, having God, they're playing the Bruins. Of course he's gonna play. Of course he's gonna play.
I love
God,
it. I love it. Yeah,
that's
he'll play.
horrible.
And he'll play well.
And he'll play so good. God,
Oh yeah,
disgusting.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
He's
let's.
got more fu in his game than most guys.
That'll be
Yeah,
a playoff
uh,
game for him,
yeah. Oh
Dick.
yeah, 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 yeah. And that's a I'm going to prove a point game.
Yep,
And
exactly.
and
Awesome. Glad that
Monty's sitting.
that's lining up against my Boston Bruins. Great,
Yeah,
great.
but
All right,
Monty's
let's.
sitting back loving it because he knows that, good chance
Yep.
that they do some damage against Boston and everyone's happy after that. And yeah, so whatever.
I'm smiling because I was Googling it thinking, God, whoever this is probably screwed if they play tonight. Looking at my own.
Now, now if you run it the other way, say the Bruins, go up 5-1 on them or something like that, then it's going to get really
Then
interesting.
we could have a show in Boston.
Boy, yeah, yeah, exactly. But it'll be fun, but it's fun to watch. But I think the media stirs the pot, and they always have, but not to this extent. But the media stirs the pot because I think they know they've got the right combination of personalities involved with Monty and Bennington. Like
Yeah.
it's a perfect storm.
Yeah. Very lucky Monty has a cool head with that type of stuff and doesn't have an ego about that shit whatsoever. And then the last piece of news we want to talk about today is the Sant'Aglia, excuse my butchering of that pronunciation, the Sant'Aglia Arena in Milan, Italy, that is slated to host the Olympics, is not done.
No, no, and I believe they were supposed to have like a test event, meaning it was like a world junior hockey tournament there, just as a test run for the arena, and I believe that got canceled.
Yeah, or it says canceled and or pushed back till January, which seems
Yeah,
like they're just waiting to cancel it in January.
yeah, yeah. But I spent a lot of years in Europe, and this doesn't surprise me because in general, some standards in Europe in general in life are higher than what we have, but other standards, and I want to say professionalism, are not. And like, how could this even be close? How could the construction or the finishing of the arena, how could that even be close? And they're behind. They've known for years they're going to be hosting this, and it doesn't surprise me that somehow, some way, this got butchered.
Well, not only have they known for years, coach, the sorry to interrupt, but Gary Bettman and the owners group that is a part of organizing this event for the NHL has been complaining about the schedule of construction since 2 years ago and worrying about it not being finished. So
Yeah,
if we're a couple months away, 2 months away from supposedly Olympic hockey, what are they going to do about that? I'm looking at a
yeah.
picture of the building. I'll put it in the podcast. There's an open face on the outside. We're not talking about like they need to set up the concession stands inside the arena. The building isn't done.
Wow, wow. And how do you finish that in 2 months? 2 months from now, we're almost there. The Olympics start on the 11th of February, and what's today, the 4th of December. So you basically 2 months. Like, what have they been doing? What are they thinking? And it's got to really. I feel bad if the NHL guys don't go because of something as bizarre as arena not being finished when they've known for years and they've been working on it for years. And from what I'm told, there's no plan B. There's no backup arena. I think, NHL guys are used to being very much pampered in terms of their travel and lodging and things like that. And they've already been told, this isn't going to be the NHL, boys, so get ready for it. And it shouldn't matter. You go in a locker room, there's hooks on the wall, fine, whatever. But they're not going to be as pampered as they're used to. And I don't think that's a big deal. That shouldn't matter to anyone. It's the thrill and the opportunity to play in the Olympics for your country and represent your country. But the potential for that not even happening is sad that we're even talking about this basically 2 months before the games start. And if it was 2 years out, and they say, "Look, we have issues," okay, there's plenty of time to fix it. There's not plenty of time to fix it right now, and
Yeah.
it's really interesting. But the other element you and I talked about earlier, Gehrig, was the ice. The size of the ice is not up to NHL standards, and I don't know if that to me that is absolutely not even worth talking about because it doesn't matter. You have all these, you have the Swiss team, you have the Danish team, you have France, whatever countries are in the Olympics. They don't play in the NHL. They don't care if it's 3 feet or 1 meter shorter than what the NHL standards are. So it's kind of a non-issue. But the arena not being done, big one, huge.
I agree with you, coach. I don't think the size of the arena matters so much, but I think it matters that you're getting that part wrong when everything else is also wrong. Like, you're not done with the building. This has been a shit show for 2 years, apparently, since Bettman has had something to complain about for 2 years.
Yeah.
This is the reason that the NHL is the little brother of the four major sports, little shit like this. Do you think the NBA or the MLB would ever have a mishap with building a stadium? This is Olympics stuff.
No, I
This
mean, well,
is
you look at the fact, and it's apples and oranges a little bit. NFL, the NFL goes into Europe and going to London or Barcelona or wherever they're going to play, and you swear you're looking at an NFL stadium. Everything is pristine, everything's perfect. Building ice, a little bit different. That's a whole different deal. And they shouldn't get it wrong, but they do. But you're right about being the little brother of the four major sports because shit like this can happen, and it shouldn't. And they've had plenty of time to get it right, and plenty of time for, if it's necessary, people from North America, Canada, or the U.S. to help out in any way, shape, or form. And if there are any questions, but they probably just did it themselves, and I'm sure they did. But it sounds to me like it's botched. But the fact that we're even talking about this 2 months before the Olympics are supposed to start.
That's what I mean. It's not like this snuck up on you, Italy. This has been what you guys have been getting ready for 4, 5, 6
Yeah,
plus years. Like,
yeah,
just,
yeah,
and I'm not sure. I have no idea. I'm saying this off the cuff, but is hockey the only thing that's going to go on in that arena? Don't you need that done for more than one thing? It looks
yeah.
like a giant, massive endeavor. Like, they throw buildings like this up once a week for things like you're saying the NFL. Those aren't new stadiums, but they reconfigure the entire thing for football or hockey. It's like the Winter Classic or the Stadium Series. They'll
Right,
re-outfit these entire stadiums
right.
and they'll go back to a football field the next day.
Yeah, you get someone from Canada in there. I was in Texas for a number of years in West Texas, in Odessa, Texas, and the minor league team that I had, brand new, right? So hockey was kind of a foreign sport. The owner of I think it was called the Music City Mall, wanted to build a practice facility inside the mall, which would give us a place to practice when the Coliseum that we played in was tied up with a rodeo or indoor football or concerts or whatever, who gave us a sheet to work out on. They went out and hired a guy from Edmonton to do it. And
That's how you do it.
best ice ever in the middle of West Texas where it's 115 all the time. Best ice I think I've ever been on. A guy from Edmonton was right on it. He knew exactly what to do. This guy was a pro. I mean, you can do it. You can go hire people to make sure that it is pristine and is right on the money. They just didn't do it. You're dealing with the Olympics. You can have the resources, I believe, to hire anyone you want to make sure it's right. Obviously, they didn't do that, and it's botched. So hopefully happens and it all comes together for them. But I don't even like the fact that we're talking about it. 2 months out. That's scary.
Yeah, that's not fun. I mean, that sucks. Like I said, it feels like when I go to bat for hockey a lot, people look at me like I'm talking about a lacrosse or something compared to
Here's
their
why.
NFL or MLB. And this is why I feel like that, because
Yeah,
we're talking about not getting the damn rink done for the Olympics. Like, come on, that's
that's
insanity.
it's all about standards. What are your standards? And I talk to athletes about this all the time. The guys in the NHL, they're there because they're standard. They have a gift, they have talent, but their standards are elite. And goalies especially. What are your standards? How do you train? How do you eat? Blah blah blah. Go
Well,
on
you
and on.
want to. We talk. You say it a little tongue in cheek about how NHL guys are pampered nowadays. I mean, you want to talk about the other leagues being pampered. There are guys that wouldn't show up if they heard that this wasn't finished or wasn't to size or blah blah blah
Yep.
blah blah. So
Yep.
that's what's frustrating is these guys all want to play for their country as bad as any other sport would want to, and they're
Yeah.
probably gonna have a hard time or maybe not be able to at all. We'll see what happens with that. But
And when I say they're pampered, I mean they're pampered, but not over the top. They all have chartered air travel, so they fly basically first class. Your meals are provided. You go to any arena, any
oh,
team, and they
I,
have meals.
I grew up in the life, coach. Let me tell you, these guys are, for lack of a better term, spoiled to a degree. I mean, they're taken care of like prize cattle.
Right, right, and you think about it. Well, I remember when the Islanders built their new practice facility on Long Island, and it was like world class. They had full-time chefs that were there basically 24 hours a day. Anything players needed nutritionally, it just everything was made to order. So if a guy wanted to work out at whatever hour, he could go in and do it. He could eat whatever he wanted, and that is an example of owners taking care of their investment. That's all it is. And who can blame them? If they have the money to do it, oh, more power to them. But again, it's all about standards, and standards in Europe are a little bit different than standards in North America, certainly when it comes to hockey.
It's one of the parts of I've never lived in Europe. I've been to France one time. That when you said that, I was like, huh, that's surprising. But I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no, I mean some elements it's the opposite, but in general, I've seen it. The way businesses are conducted sometimes in Europe is really, really shady. But you can say the same for North America too. So it's almost universal. But this doesn't surprise me. That's probably the bottom line for me. What's going on in Milan does not surprise me.
All righty, you got anything else, coach?
No, I do not. Olympics, Bennington, Wallstedt. I think we're all, yeah, not unless you do. I think we're good.
Nope, nothing from me.
All right, buddy. All right. All
All right,
right.
coach.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, and have a good weekend. What do you got
Yeah,
going this weekend?
we have Connor Hellebuck, as you guys have seen by now, but we're posting every Saturday. Thank you guys for listening, and please smash that subscribe button. We'll be back next week. So thanks, coach.
Awesome. See ya.